Today's topic is
Piracy in China
versus piracy in the West. What wonderful weather we're experiencing today, Seamilk.
Do you know, every time I check the weather report for our filming schedule, because we film on Mondays and Tuesdays, it shows clouds and rain, and then for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's usually blue skies.
It's ridiculous. I mean, our entire show up until this point has just been grey skies and rain and gloomy sort of surroundings. But we promise you guys, this isn't how it always is. This is really just because it's winter here.
The irony, though, is that we've had good weather for the rest of the week.
It's true, but yeah, I just want to let all our viewers know that this depressing, horrible, foggy sort of thing going on here, it doesn't last forever, so things will be blue skies in no time.
So where are we headed today?
Well, since our topic today is piracy, we're going somewhere really special. I mean, you know about it, but the viewers don't, so let's kind of keep it a bit of a surprise until we get there.
Sure.
So, we're talking about piracy in the West versus piracy in China. And, well, I think everybody has this idea that China is just a factory for cheap knockoff goods, that they copy everything, and that, you know, nothing is sacred and no copyright laws exist. And, well, you know what? It's actually true. So, how about we talk about why we think this is the case? You start.
It actually goes way back. This is an East Asian thing, but in Confucius thought, basically all of the education was based on Confucianism, and there was this idea that the individual is much less important than the group. Whereas in the West, we grow up with this idea that we're a special snowflake, everything that we do is special, and our ideas become intellectual property. And we built kind of systems around that. But in China and in the East, it was better to copy, whether it was calligraphy or a work of art or a document, like a literary document. It was better to copy a master until you have mastered his technique before you can add your own style to something. So piracy and copying things was never ever frowned upon because individual thought was never appreciated. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, that probably has something to do with it for sure. But I think a reason why piracy is so rampant here is because in the past there was no other way to get a hold of things. You know, Hollywood movies were never officially released here in China, so if you wanted to watch a Hollywood movie, you'd have to get a cheap knockoff VCD or something from Hong Kong or from somewhere else to watch it. And, you know, for instance, with games, game consoles, until very recently were banned in China. Of course, there's no official channel to sell games, so you could only buy copied games. So, you know, there was actually no choice but to buy pirated things. Yeah, so it's probably a bit of both.
Makes sense.
So, Seamilk, let's talk about the kind of piracy that actually occurs here in China. What kind of things are copied and pirated? I mean, other than the obvious things like movies and games and music.
The biggest thing that I see is pirated clothing. It's literally everywhere. It's rampant. So there's fake Nikes, fake Adidas. The biggest thing right now, because New Balances are so popular in Korean fashion, you know, there's a lot of fake New Balance shoes, and you can see the just really poor quality and the switched around N, you know, just avoid some law. But the thing that really touched me personally, that really kind of shocked me to the core, was when I was teaching university in Inner Mongolia, and I had a lot of students obviously writing essays and things, and it surprised me when I got 20 or 25 of the same essay, because when I confronted them about this with a lot of anger in my voice, they didn't understand why I was so angry, because in their minds I gave them a topic, they had to write about it, and it doesn't matter if it's someone else's work, they got the assignment done. And actually, when I took some students aside, they actually told me that their other professors wouldn't have gotten angry about that, and they wouldn't have failed them, because that idea just didn't exist in their head. And also, when they asked me to direct like a little film project, and almost every student that made their little film made it like a TV show copy of Fei Cheng Wu Rao, which was that dating show that was super popular. And there was just no individuality, there was no creativity in anything that any of the students did, except for one cool kid that made like a cheesy horror film. So for me, that was really interesting to see that there wasn't a creative bone in their body. They just really, really wanted to copy the best, and that's the idea in China. You copy the best. That's what you do.
Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is, well, software piracy. It's actually quite funny because in China, I've actually never seen a legitimate copy of Windows on any computer. In fact, Microsoft has given up on selling Windows in China. And it's quite funny, way back when I bought my first very expensive laptop here, it came preloaded with Windows Vista. And because I wanted to get the English version, I went to the shops to try and find, because it came with a Chinese version only, which some kind of OEM. I tried to buy the English version, and there wasn't a single shop that could sell me the legitimate version. I'm talking about like big electronic stores, even the store I bought the computer from. All they could do was give me a pirated copy of Windows XP in English on my computer. And yeah, it was a huge battle. I could not get a legitimate copy. And Microsoft did a big launch, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it could have been Vista or Windows 7, and they made a big marketing thing here in China to sell it, and in the first week they sold like 7 copies or something, and so they just gave up on the whole thing. So Microsoft has actually stopped charging for Windows in China. They've written it off as a loss, and they see it as a platform to sell their other products, cloud-based stuff or Office, things like that. So software piracy is rampant. It's ridiculously bad. What else can you think of?
Restaurants. You might not believe this, but you don't think when you think of piracy, to be honest, you think of like Rolex watches being sold on a New York street corner in Chinatown, But there's actually entire restaurants that have been plagiarized or copied or pirated here. And like places like KFC, which is a juggernaut of a restaurant here. You go into some smaller towns and you actually find, or outskirts of some cities, and you'll actually find copies of KFC. Even in food products, they have the KFC logo on them, but it have nothing to do with them.
Yeah, like that little cup of chips that I bought the other day, right?
I was in Beihai in Guangxi province, and there was a Burger King. It looked exactly like Burger King with the logo and everything, and it was called Dongle Burger. And we went inside, and the electricity was off, number one. Number two, they didn't sell one hamburger. They were like, what is a hamburger? I was like, you have it in your sign, but they just sold like rice-based dishes. It's pretty hilarious. So yeah, restaurants are copied out the wazoo.
The next thing is, believe it or not, cars. Now, you can be driving down the road and you think you see a BMW X5, but actually it's a copy made by, I can't remember the company, but it's called the CEO. There are also copies of the Mini. There's a copy of the Toyota Aygo, I think it is, the BYD F0. And of course the most notorious one in the beginning is the Chery Qq. The Chery Qq is an exact copy of the Chevy Spark. Also I think it's called a Daewoo Matiz or something, the original one. But basically there was this massive court case where Chevrolet actually said, hey, what are you guys doing here? You can't copy our product. They even took a QQ, they took their own doors from the Chevy Spark and they fit straight on. Like basically the body panels are exactly the same, everything.
That's funny.
Yeah, so they made a big stink about it, but it backfired. And this is where we're going to start talking about this in a minute, is the double standards that exist for piracy in China. But basically it backfired, and Chery was saying, hey, look at this international company trying to stifle China's growth, and all the local Chinese people started to boycott Chevy and say, you know what, we're not going to buy your cars because you're trying to stop our local companies growing. And so Chevy obviously wants a piece of this massive market in China. They backed off and they actually dropped the case. But anyway, still on cars, the newest one, which is absolutely absurd, is they've knocked off that Range Rover Evoque, which it's a carbon copy. So the company in China is called the Landwind. Okay,
you actually can't tell the difference.
You can't. If you see it on the street driving, you would think it's actually a Range Rover. Yes, so if you want to get a Range Rover Evoque and you don't have the money, just buy the cheap Landwind, take the badges off, and in fact, and this is really stupid, but it's so possible. The dealership where I bought my car, which is Chery, they offer debadging services where they will actually take your car that you buy, and in the showroom right there, they will put Toyota badges on for you.
Right. Right.
All right, so we've arrived at our destination. Let's do a bit of a walk and talk. Right, C-Milk, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about this place.
This place has been in the news non-stop because if you guys want to know about piracy, we took you to a pirated village. This is called Hallstatt, which is actually a real village in Austria, up in the Alps.
Yep.
So what a Chinese investor decided to do was recreate that village and put it in the middle of the jungle. It is an absolutely ridiculous idea, and it actually turned out to be one of the biggest failures in real estate history for China. Over $1 billion was invested and almost no one bought houses here.
So you may notice that there's a lot of wedding photography going on, which of course is a whole completely different subject that we will cover in one of our upcoming episodes, both wedding photography and getting married in China. All right, so what's going on with all the wedding photography?
Well, this is kind of like, because it was such a real estate failure, people had to do something with it. And they're like, you know what? I don't have to go to Europe and spend all this money with my husband to go get wedding photos. We can just come to Hallstatt here in Guangdong.
Now, look, we're basically in the middle of a public place here. There are people doing wedding photography, there are kids everywhere, and this is what they have in their display window. Simo, can you read some of those off for us?
Well, this is the very famous band Schlong with their record Fish Booty. We have tracks like Piss in My Face, Tuna Arsehole, Bogey in My Butt, Little Splooge, Fistful of Pancreas, and what else we got? Ask Me Tomorrow, but Don't Tell Me You Love Me. Very beautiful pictures of their mothers as well.
It's pretty obvious that whoever put up these displays cannot read English.
What's that band anyway?
I have no idea. I don't ever want to listen to that.
I'm gonna look them up.
I'm sure you will. There are people taking photos of us left, right, and center here. Yep. What's the deal with that?
Well, I mean, think about it like this. If they're gonna pirate a whole village, let's say the majority of Chinese people probably can't afford to fly to Europe and go to the real one. They're gonna come here. It's just a stone throw away, possibly from where they live. And for them, it's like a foreign experience. It looks foreign, it looks like Austria from the pictures. So when they see real foreigners here, they're like, holy shit, this is my moment, you know?
Yeah. That's probably what it is. And well, this place has basically just turned into a place for photos. As you see, people are taking photos everywhere in every which way they can.
Yep.
I noticed that the flowers all look the same, and then I get closer, they're made out of styrofoam and plastic. These are also pirated flowers. So Simon, what do we have behind us here?
This is a church modeled after the one in Austria, and I figured it's a pretty rare opportunity to go to mass here in China, so let's go.
We're going in. So we've just entered this so-called church, and we've got a German flag, a Chinese flag, and a British flag. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. What makes even less sense is that it's actually set up as an art gallery for some kind of amateur artist who, I guess he teaches at kindergarten or something, because they are selling this stuff here. They're actually selling it, and it is literally like kindergarten stuff. I mean, the guy...
Maybe his students did it.
Maybe. I mean, if that's the case, well done. But the guy, what's his name? Burkhard Eiswald. This is his exhibition. And let's take a look at some of the lovely pictures that are up on sale here. We've got Fish in the Air by Burke. No, they're all by Burke. They're all by this guy Burke, this German guy Burke.
Dude, I suck at art, but in second grade I could do better than that.
Yeah, I'm sorry Burke, but your paintings are appalling. Like, literally. 1,600 RMB for literally something that has been drawn with like a Koki pen. Oh well. Well done, Burke. You've fooled somebody.
Well, I love what he did with this artistic representation of Guangzhou. It's very apparent that this is the Canton Tower. Beautiful.
If you ask me, it looks like a kindergartner had gotten hold of some paint and did finger painting. And that's pretty much for everything that's in here, to be honest. But, you know, it's kind of amazing. That's something about China. You can have an entire church dedicated to your second-rate art and have your own gallery showing, which is amazing. You know, where else in the world could this happen, honestly? Well done, Burke. You made it. Right, Simuk, so comment question of the day is from who?
Today's comment question comes from LA Toledo 1. He asks, how hard was it to learn Chinese, and did you guys learn the language prior to arriving to China?
You go first.
It's very, very, very difficult, I must say. Spoken Chinese is probably quite a bit easier than some other languages out there, but the writing system is so cryptic and so difficult to learn that even if you study it for 2 years, if you stop writing the characters, you're not going to be able to write them.
Yeah, you forget. So did you study before you came?
No, not even one word. I learned it all on the ground. Never took a class here either.
Yeah. I'm the same. I didn't learn a single word. Well, I knew ni hao, of course, because I actually, from watching some Japanese stuff. Anyway, I knew ni hao. That was it. Okay. And when I got here, of course, I was blown away. It was just so difficult to communicate with anyone here, and I had to learn just because I had no choice. I'm sure it was the same for you.
Absolutely.
Like, you want to buy something, you go up there and you point at it, and they'll say, you know, or something, and you learn that, you know, slowly but surely. But I did do a course at the Shenzhen University to learn how to read and write, a 6-month language course, which really helped tie everything together. That was like way later. So
for me, it was about 2 years until I can say I was pretty functional. I could do everything on my own, you know.
Sure.
But that's, you know, that's without any traditional study, and it's really hard.
Yeah, it's something that I always prided myself on, is the fact that I could actually take care of everything by myself. Most other foreigners get their girlfriends or,
for sure,
I don't know, assistants or something to set up their internet for them, or send a package in the post, or, you know, all this kind of thing. But I managed to do it all by myself, and I'm kind of proud of that, because I really went all in and tried to learn the language.
So be like us, do everything yourself.
Yeah, and it is difficult, but stick at it and you can accomplish anything.
Thank you, LA Toledo 1.
Yep. So what do you say we get out of this place?
Yeah, let's get the hell out of here.
All right. If you guys are interested in this place, we'll put some links down below to, like, I think there's a Wikipedia article.
A bunch of news articles as well, so.
Okay, we'll put something down there for you to go and follow up. It's really a bizarre place. Yeah.
A must no.
Okay.
Not a must recommend.
Okay. Definitely not a recommended place, because there's nothing to do here.
Unless you're an avid fan of Burke's art.
Yeah, Burke. Well done, Burke. You got your own store. Alright, Seamilk, now one of the biggest differences between piracy in the West and piracy in China is that piracy makes its way into mainstream media here. Maybe you could give us an example of that.
Oh yeah, there's this show, it's the biggest show in China, at least it was fairly recently, called Running Man, which was originally a show in Korea. It's kind of a variety show where they get a bunch of celebrities on, and then they go through a bunch of challenges. But the first thing that I noticed when my wife was watching it was, I was like, dude, Vivi, you didn't call me in the room and to watch Star Wars. I love Star Wars, you know. But it turned out it wasn't Star Wars, it was actually Running Man, and they had used the scene from the cantina in Tatooine, dun, 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 that song as their theme song.
Yeah, as their actual theme song. Now that you mention it, I was in the subway station in Shenzhen, and they were playing an ad for Running Man, and this music came on, and I was like, why do I know that music? What the hell? And then I'm like, wait, that's the Star Wars Cantina music. And just as you said, I look on the screen and it's an advert for Running Man. I promise you that George Lucas or Disney or whatever didn't sign off and say, yeah, sure, go ahead.
I bet he doesn't even know about it.
Anyway, I guess it's about time we wrap this whole thing up. Can we actually get past here? So, is there anything you want to say before we finish our episode?
I want to say thank you so much for watching, as always, guys, and thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and giving us those comment questions.
How can you say thank you for liking when people aren't actually liking?
Well, guess what? I think they will. I have that much premonition.
Okay, good. Predictor of the future. Alright guys, yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for watching. Hope this wasn't too negative for you, but it's just the truth of what's happening here, and that's what we do, is we talk about, you know, what's happening. Can't wait to see you guys in the next episode, and until next time, stay awesome.